Hey everyone, so I'm going to shoot a quick video here, and financial advisors are going to hate me for this video. They just are. Because financial advisors say, hey, you need to put your money with me, and we will try to beat the indexes, but they never beat the indexes over time, and the financial advisor is just creating an income for themselves. The financial services industry got started in the 1980s to create jobs for human beings. And those jobs pay really darn well, to be honest with you. My little checks that I get every single month from my small wealth management business is kind of nice. But here's a simple truth, and they don't want me displaying this to you. So what I've done is I've taken the TFSA from 2009. Now keep in mind, TFSA, tax-free retirement account or tax-free savings account. They should have called it a tax-free retirement savings account because it's great for that. Right now, everybody puts their money into a RSP, and then when they want to go take the money out, it's taxed. And so what happens is senior citizens don't take the money out. It just sits there. They don't go live, and that's stupid. So a tax-free retirement savings account was created for younger people so that they go live, go spend money in their retirement age. Tax-free money, because the government can make money off, the government makes more money off of that churn, that spend, than they do off of it sitting there earning interest and eventually being paid at the death tax time. So 2009, you could put $5,000 into a TFSA, the maximum contribution room. So if you only made the maximum contribution rooms and you put that into a 50-50 fund, 50% TSX, 50% US S&P 500, kept it very simple, index funds, only index funds, keep the costs low. Huh? And you just let it ride. Who cares what the market does? I'm just going to go to work every day. As long as I have my job every day, then I don't need this money. So eventually I'm not going to have my job at any point in time, and I might need this money. Now, let's go one step further. The annual returns by doing that, 14.6, negative 9, 20, 10, negative 14, 13, negative 25, 10, 25, negative 17, 14, and 17.5 so far this year. Now, you'll notice that there are some negative returns in there because there are years that the markets go negative. They just do. And then they recover back their profits. Now, let's look at what you'd end up having. So 2010, you put the maximum in. 11, you put the maximum in. 12, you put the maximum in. 13, you put the maximum in. 14, you put the maximum in. 15, you put the maximum in. 16, 17, 17. Notice here in 17, this 18, there was a negative 8% return. So notice how your balance didn't change at all. You still put the maximum in, but you didn't. You're back to even. So 17, you lost money. Okay? But then look what happens in 19, because you got 66,000 earning, that goes to 89,000. You get all your money back. 104,000, 136,000, 124,000. You went down $12,000 here because the market was negative 13%. Okay? So then, and you put in your contribution room. So all of a sudden you get to 2023, the end of 2023, and you got 152,407 tax-free dollars in there. Now, what is it made so far this year? It's made 17.57%. So 152,407 by 17.57% is $26,777 tax-free. Now you know why nobody works anymore. Anybody that put the maximum into the tax-free retirement savings account plan has now gotten to the point where they're making $26,000 a year. That's $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month on top of, say you're of age, you're getting your government pension, $802. So think about this for a second. Hang on a second. 26,777 plus 802, your old age retirement pen. Oh, sorry. 26,777 plus 802 by 12 is 10, 8,200. 9,000, let's say $10,000. We'll round that up. $10,000. 26 26,777 plus 10,000. Whoop. 26,777 plus 10,000 from old age pension. That's 36,777, doing absolutely nothing. So does anybody need to go to work for a company earning $36,777 a year? Maybe they do want to stay working for a company. Maybe they still need more money. But in this particular case, let's also look at something else. So what we're going to look at here is we're going to say, hey, what happens if our house becomes paid off too? And that was easy because when we think about it, our house went from $260,000 of value in 2014, and it's now worth $730,000 today. Now, we can take a reverse mortgage against up to 40% of the value of our house, which is $292,000. Now, if I'm 58 years old and I have about 22 years of life expectancy by 12 months, that's 264 months. So I can draw 292 divided by 264 is 1106 a month, tax-free. So suddenly now 1106 by 12, that's 12,000, that's $13,000. Keep it simple, 13. I suddenly have $50,000 of income. Do I need to go to work at all? And everything's all paid off. Well, I have a business that pays off the cars. Do I need to go to work? No. I don't need to go to work at all. I got $49,000 of padded income, and a big part of it is tax-free income. So all I did was I paid my house off, and I can take a tax-free reverse mortgage if I wanted to. Don't have to. And there's all kinds of great products on on reverse mortgages. Sorry, it's getting late here. Reverse mortgages. You can always pay them back off if you want to. You don't have to keep them open. But my point is, here's where I'm going to. Here in the city of Windsor, many of our senior citizens are complaining that taxes, property taxes, are going to go up by 12.8% next year. The government has just announced that. Get ready. You're going to see your taxes go up by 12.8%. So the senior citizens are saying, well, wait a second, how in the heck are we supposed to afford that? Well, wait a second. If you've been putting money into your TFSA and you've simply been keeping it simple by only doing 50-50, your TFSA has grown and grown and grown. Your $95,000 that you have in your TFSA as of today is $185,684. That's a hell of a lot of money there to be able to pay the city of Windsor taxes. Did you put your minimum amounts that you were allowed to put in? Or did you go on your cruises and did you do other things or other things that happened in life for people? I mean, sometimes people lost jobs, sometimes people got ill, all that stuff. I'm being facetious about if you went on your around the world cruise and maybe you should have been putting your money into your TFSA. Because eventually, if you live like no one else, eventually you can live like no one else. That's the whole concept of Dave Ramsey. Live like no one else so that eventually you can live like no one else. So at the end of the day, if in 2009 you were living like no one else and putting in your maximum contribution that you could in your TFSA, and you did that every single year, then congratulations, now you can go live your life. Because now you've suddenly got $50,000 of income coming in, 50 grand. And yeah, if you want to go do something else, if you want to help me do estate cleanout work, that's fine. I'll send you checks too. If you want to refer business over to me, that's fine. I'll send you checks too. If you want to go drive around my flyers and talk to people for me, that would be great. I would appreciate that. I'll give you a finder's fee. So at the end of the day, there's lots of different, and that's why nobody works anymore, because suddenly TFSAs have built up over time. You can put $95,000 is your maximum contribution room you can put into a TFSA. So if you haven't made any contributions yet, you got $95,000 you can put in there. You should put it in there instantly, and you should divide it 2 in the S&P 500 and the TSX. Because historically over time, yes, there's been negative years, There have been, and next year might be a negative year. There's a lot of headwinds for next year. But we say that all the time. And then the year after that, everything bounces back. Now, could we go 2 negative years? Yeah, we could go 2 negative years. But eventually it bounces back. Over the course of your working career, the whole goal of a TFSA is to get to retirement, have some kind of a government check coming in, have some kind of other possible pension check coming in for your time, and then also have a TFSA that has a massive sum of tax-free dollars in it. And have a paid off house that is, and you can start drawing off of that tax-free too. Wouldn't that be great? So I have a very hard time when people in South Windsor specifically, because there's a lot of retirees there, I sit there and complain that, hey, wait a second, it's going to be too expensive for us to live now. Well, what have you been doing? The government has given you all kinds of great ways for you to be able to save for your future. What have you been doing? So it doesn't hold muster because you can, if your house is probably paid off. So why don't you just open up a reverse mortgage on it to pay the extra fee that the government's going to charge you to stay living in your house? It's no big deal. It's going to be cheaper to do that than it is going to go rent someplace. So at the end of the day, I don't get it. I don't understand why people are so upset about the concepts of taxes, because it tends to be people that have houses who tend to be kind of rich in essence. They have jobs that they can qualify for a mortgage. So maybe you just have the wrong house. Maybe you've been lying to yourself about your lifestyle. And now the government is sitting there saying, yeah, gee, it's really expensive to run our operations because everybody wants more. The unions all want more. Everybody wants more. The cost of a garbage truck is higher. Everything is more expensive. The cost of police cars is higher. Everything is more expensive. The cost of fuel is higher. Everything costs more money. We're going to have to get more tax dollars. Just like here in my development, we have a $95 a month copay for association dues. I can tell you that it's running out of money. We're starting to turn negative again. They're going to have to put through a rate increase. I can tell you that there's a massive hurricane right now churning through the United States, causing all kinds of damage. There's going to be billions. There's going to be $10 billion, $15 billion of damage from this hurricane. And all of that gets paid for by us, because the auto and home insurance business is a mutual product. We all pay for the losses. So if there's a fire out in California, there's a fire in BC, Americans pay for our fires, we pay for their fires. It's a mutual product. And I can tell you that those mutual products are losing a hell of a lot of money and fees are going to go up. And yes, it makes it very, very tough. That's what's making it very tough for our young generation, because they're trying to go out and make $35,000 a year, but just to insure their freaking car costs them $7,000 a year. They're never going to get there. That's what the whole point is, that they're never going to get there. The only way that they're going to get there is if grandma and grandpa bought a life insurance policy, grandma and grandpa died, and having to name them as beneficiary. That's the only way they're going to get there. They're just never going to get there any other way. And yeah, if they were smart, they would buy a life insurance policy on grandma or grandpa. I'd say, hey, grandma or grandpa, I want to buy, even if it's a small policy, I want to buy a whole life insurance policy on you, and I'm going to pay the premium. And if you want to give me a gift every year on my birthday, let you pay that premium. And then maybe at Christmas you pay the premium. That would be wonderful. Because when you do die, I'm going to get tax-free money coming to me. Tax-free money is a great thing to get. Every child should have a life insurance policy on that. Asian children, do they get it? Italian children, do they get it? Why doesn't the rest of the world get it? I just don't understand. There's certain things I just don't understand. Just like I don't understand this. Why wouldn't you have bought a house in 2014? Our house is now worth $730,000. It's retirement planning. It's paid off. That's retirement planning. We can stay in our house and have our house start paying us if we want it to. Okay? Tax-free. And we contributed to our tax-free retirement savings account. And this is one person. So if you had a couple, then suddenly you've got $52,000 a year coming in. That's a really tax-free. Think about that for a second. You have let's keep it simple, let's say $12,000 coming in from your house tax-free. And then you've got $52,000 coming in from your tax-free retirement savings account. So 52,000 plus 12,000 is 62, 64,000, tax free, plus your old age pensions at $10,000 each, $20,000. Do you need to worry about where money comes from? No. You need to just maybe go on those cruises, but maybe you go and downsize a room. How dare we? Instead, we get the porthole that opens rather than the door that opens, but we still go on the same cruise every year to be able to pay our city of Windsor taxes, assuming that we want to keep our house. You have choices. There's all kinds of choices you can make in life. And the best choice, to be honest with you, is to keep your house, because next year it's going to be worth 3% more. And the year after it's going to be worth 3% more at the very least. Because inflation is running 3%. So your house will always go up in value by 3%. Now, the other thing that I don't get is a lot of the people that are complaining about the tax increase in the city of Windsor is the people that have South Windsor specifically. Let's just go there. And we're going to pick on them a little bit. So South Windsor has never had a reappraisal. It was supposed to happen in before COVID, and it never happened. It's been put off. Okay? And the city of Windsor's run out of money. A house over there, the average selling price of a house over there is $550,000. Their taxes are about $2,600 a year to $3,200 a year, somewhere right in there. Huh? Here in Riverside, the same $550,000 house on the same lot is paying almost $5,200 a year, at least, in taxes. So yeah, the folks over in South Windsor have had it really, really easy because they voted over there. That the power of this block of voters is very valuable to politicians. That's why they've never reappraised it. If we reappraise it, it's going to get tough and they're not going to vote for us. So they never did it. And now all of a sudden the city needs to put through a 12% rate increase to everybody because they never reappraised these folks to make them pay their fair share. So when the Democrats in the United States talk about, Kamala talks about it all the time, we're going to take these really, really rich people, we're going to start making them pay their fair share. Well, hello, City of Windsor's the same thing. Those folks in South Windsor have been getting away without paying their fair share. It's time they start paying their fair share. But instead, the mayor doesn't want to go over to them and say, hey, we're going to have to reappraise you, reassess you, and your taxes are going to soar to make it fair. Instead, what the mayor does is he comes out and he says the whole city is going to have to pay 12% more, which sucks to me because I'm already paying $6,000 for my property taxes and I only have a 30-foot lot. And my house is worth maybe $150,000 more than the average house in South Windsor. How is it justified that I'm paying $6,000 and they're only paying $3,200? Why don't we reassess them? There's a hell of a lot of houses in South Windsor that have not been reassessed. Let's reassess them to the current market and let's tax the hell out of them. Make it fair. We keep saying that we're going to tax the rich, we're going to tax the rich, we're going to tax the rich. Well, wait a second. If we're going to do that, let's do it. Let's go back in and reassess South Windsor to the new market reality of what their pricing points on their houses are. That will find all of the money and then the city doesn't need to do anything. But because the power comes from this voting block, they're going to force everybody to pay. And that's not fair. It's not just. Why should my taxes, if I'm paying $6,000, why should they go up to $6,700? It's a massive increase. It's just not right. That's the whole point with all this. But the power, the mayor is sitting there saying, hey, this is great because, yeah, we need more money. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that, hey, everybody's going to have to pay it so that these people over in South Windsor are still happy with me and they'll still vote and keep me in power. But what he forgets is all of the rest of us, we're a far bigger voting bloc out here. than what they are there. And we should all just say no to him when he runs for re-election. To make it fair. To say, wait a second, Mr. Mayor, start taxing the rich people. Make it fair. Lose your power. Lose your seat, Mr. Mayor. Do the right thing. That's where the problem is. It's here because they've never been reassessed. That's where the city's problem is. But they can't go back there and reassess it because their taxes are going to end up soaring because they've been subsidized at $3,200 and all of a sudden the taxes are going to be $6,000 like they are everywhere else in the city. Gee, my taxes went from $3,000 to $6,000. That's not fair, and he'd lose his voting block. They would all stop voting for him. Well, he wants to keep his office job too. Pays his property taxes in South Windsor because that's where he lives. So at the end of the day, there were clans. There was the Francis folks and this current mayor that created this train wreck. Just did. And that's where we find ourselves today. And what they're going to do is they're going to continue the train wreck to stay in power. Because it's about power. Even on the local level, it's about power. And that's the point that I want to try to make to everybody with the concept of taxes. I don't understand. I believe that if you just did this and you have your house paid off, then suddenly it doesn't matter. That's why the government gave you this. So if you're watching this and you haven't started your tax-free retirement savings account, you should go over and do that right away. And by all means, what you should be doing too is put it half into the TSX index fund and half into the S&P 500 index fund. That's all you need to do. And take the good with the bad. And put your maximum contribution every year you can in there. And if you haven't done that yet, and you have some money, your grandma just died, put your $95,000 into your tax-free retirement savings account. You will be so glad that you did because the earnings from that is going to be tax-free. And then pay your house off. Buy a logical house that will go up in value. Pay it off. And then suddenly you're living a tax-free retirement. And the government's going to give you checks to top you up. And any other pension that you might otherwise have. What a wonderful thing. It's what I've done. I've recognized it from day one, and I'm a financial advisor, and I keep telling people, hey, don't do all that other stupid stuff. Just do this. Keep your expenses low. Don't pay for those created job people because they have no clue what they're doing. It was funny when the market was selling off in 2008 when I was at university. I went over to a financial advisor here in town who's no longer a financial advisor, and he had probably $30-40 million book of business. And I asked him, I said, hey, are you notifying your clients because of the things you read to know that, hey, the market's going to be going down? This was in 2007. And he said, no. Oh, hell no, Brian, I'm getting ready to go away. I said, where are you going to go away? To a foreign land so that when people call, I'm not even here. Why would I call and scare the hell out of my clients? Well, don't they need to know that you know that the market's going to go down because that's what everybody's already otherwise seeing? No, Brian, I'm going on vacation. I'm not going to be here to answer those phone calls. He was fleeing. And then he came back when happy days were here again. 2009, I'm going back. I'll go back to the office now suddenly. And we had really, really great returns in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. Look at the returns. So, okay, great. That's the whole point. Just maximize your tax-free retirement savings account. Start there. And then once you get that done and it starts throwing you off tax-free income, take that tax-free income. So think about that for a second. $95,000. Just keep this simple. And you still have a mortgage payment. You're making your mortgage payment. You got $95,000. That's earned you 17.57% tax-free so far this year. That's $16,691 tax-free. go ahead and take this $16,691 tax-free and pay it on your mortgage. Your mortgage is at, let's say, 4%. I don't care what the mortgage rate is because you're going to get 4% on $16,691. You're going to be knocking your house off that much faster. And you're still making your payments. You get your house paid off. And if you can't get your house paid off, then you have too much house. Sell that damn beast and buy the right-sized house. Say to your family, look, yeah, mommy and daddy, we're currently living in this $900,000 house, and mommy and daddy are going to do some different things so that we can retire and we can leave you some assets tax-free when we die. And so we're going to get our butt in gear right now. And we're going to sell this $800,000 house, and we're going to buy a $490,000 house, or a $520,000 house, or a $550,000 house. We're going to move to a wonderful little ranch in Riverside. We're going to move to a wonderful little ranch over in South Windsor. And do it. Because then suddenly you free up money to be able to continue to keep doing that. You free up the money that you have that you're not paying in a mortgage. You have your tax-free retirement money that's earning, take it out, take the $16,000 out, cut your mortgage payment, buy the right-sized house, and suddenly you're paying an extra, $35,000, $40,000 extra on your mortgage to knock it off, to get it paid off. And then suddenly you get to a point where you've got $16,691 tax-free coming in and a paid-off house. Wouldn't that be a great thing? And the answer is yes. That's how the people in BC are doing it. BC is so rich, and a massive number of houses in BC are paid off. There's no mortgage on them at all. But they can't tell you that because everything is built around the banks making money by lending you money. Just stop doing it. Take the bull by the horn and say, hey, we're gonna start to learn a thing or two about a thing or two. You're watching these videos, you're learning a little bit at least. You're learning about what I've done and why I don't have as much pressure right now. My house is paid off. It gives me the opportunity. We're looking at retirement next year at 61. Not for me. I don't plan on ever retiring. I enjoy what I do. As long as I can continue to help people buy houses like I'm doing tomorrow. Or actually today now. I got 2 to do today. So think about how you look at money. Keep it simple and get things paid off. Then suddenly nobody can take anything away from you. And it becomes a completely different world because you can start then banking on yourself. And when you start banking on yourself, you're not going to go borrow money. Because you're going to be like, gee, I got to borrow it for myself. Do I really want to buy this thing? And the answer is no, I really don't need that thing. So, different way to be able to do it. Or you can go borrow the money from the bank because you got everything all paid off and they'll happily give you money. Yeah, if you weren't going to be stupid enough to pay a 6% or 7% or 12% for that car, absolutely yes, we'll say yes to you. Because there's no risk for them, because everything you own is paid off. And all of your income is yours. Woohoo! So it's time. If you haven't been thinking about this, you need to be thinking about this. You must be thinking about this. That's what everybody's gotten into this trap. That's why things are so bad right now for people. Gee, I never really maximized my TFSA when it started in 2009. I never put any money in my TFSA in 2009. And I certainly didn't put it into a place where it was actually going to grow because I went over to the bank and the person at the bank said, oh, there's this great mutual fund that earns like 3% per year. That's why my account hasn't grown at all, because inflation has run higher. You have to be in the TSX and the S&P 500 index. You must. Just let business grow. There's a lot of risk in 2025 for that. Trust me, there's a lot of risk coming up. And I think 2025 is going to be a negative year because when you think about the pattern here, look at how the pattern was. Positive, negative, positive, 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 negative. So 3 positives and then a negative. Then 2 positives and a negative. Then 3 positives, then a negative. Then we've got these 3 positives. So next year should be a negative, just on the pattern alone. So yeah, if you put your $95,000 in, it might be a negative 13% year again. Ouch. But it might only be a negative 4% year. And then the next year, you might be up 14%. Woohoo! Because it's tax free. So think it through. That's all that I'm trying to say. How you end up getting some money and some schleckles together to be able to go and retire, it starts now. It starts today. It starts living like no one else so that later you can live like no one else. My later's coming around the corner pretty darn fast, and I'm starting to like my later. Now all I'm trying to do is keep my head in the game, and literally keep my health, because my around the corner's coming. And I didn't need a relative to die and leave me money or anything. I just did it myself. I feel sorry for those folks, and I deal with them all the time, every day. Gee, mom or dad is still alive, and they should have never lived. They were never expected to live until 88, Brian. In my retirement plan, I run into it every day, and I find it to be the saddest of things. My lawyer friend, he almost stopped lawyering because he had a case where the person was still alive and had all kinds of assets. But the power of attorney that was over the assets had the person living in one of the dumpiest, shackiest retirement villages or healthcare villages or whatever villages on the planet, and couldn't get any care because there was no money for him, because the power of attorney was guiding everything and holding on because that was part of their retirement plan. And all of a sudden, this person who's in care is zapping that retirement plan. Just make their life as hell as possible. Very sad thing. It does. I see it. It happens. Especially in certain ethnicities. It's not nice. It's not pleasant. He almost left lawyering because of that. It was that traumatic. Now he just doesn't do that business. He's like, oh, hell no, I'll never do that business ever again. Doesn't do family law. So it's really, really stupid. A mom and a dad, they break up and they're spending the college savings plan on lawyers. It's really stupid. He's like, I don't really like to take away the kids' college education, so I'm not going to do family law anymore, Brad. I don't want to be responsible for that. I want kids to go to university. Oh, what a wonderful concept. So keep it simple. It's not rocket science. Get your house paid off. Downsize your house to the right house if you can't afford the one that you have. If there's some employment risk coming up in your future, start acting now. Because if you get back to Riverside, if you can, because there's houses now available for sale in Riverside. Days on market are piling up. There's houses available. I have a beautiful 3-bedroom, 3-bath that I'm listing tomorrow in Tecumseh, for God's sakes, for $735,000. So somebody further out can go ahead and sell their 900, 950, 1.0 and move into my beautiful 3-bedroom, 3-bath for just $734,900. Downsize. And I'm sorry, but it's a beautiful house. You've already watched the video. You've seen it. Don't understand why people don't do that. Gee, I'm gonna downsize and I'm gonna start paying my house off extra, and I'm gonna put the equity that I make off my sale of my house now, I'm gonna put that into a tax-free retirement savings account, because I'll be able to put $95,000 in my tax-free retirement savings account, and this year it would have made $16,000 already. What am I doing? Why wouldn't I have wanted that $16,000 in my bank account? Because then I can pay my house off that much faster. Woohoo! Start rethinking it. It's not too late. It's never too late to stop and start rethinking. If you have any questions about this kind of stuff, you can call me, 519-995-6145, 519-995-6145. Don't get behind, though. If you're behind, there's very little anybody can do for you. Thanks. Have a great day.